Hey sisters, welcome to my vegetable garden. We're leaving the porch today because it's a beautiful day and we're having an early spring here on the Texas Gulf Coast. I've been spending a little time in my garden this week and I just wanted to take you on a quick tour. Then I want to share something from my heart with you. And so let's do a quick tour. Come on. Okay, here's kind of a view of the garden itself. Got a little peach tree there blooming a little bit, some roses we moved over, and a fig tree that didn't do much last year. And I will go in the gate here and I will show you. Now listen, keep your expectations low. There's a lesson to be learned here. It's probably not going to be an obvious one to you, even though you can see how my husband has toiled the past couple of years and built up the beds and made this nice little kind of a patch for me to work in. He does a lot of the heavy work, but you can see I have my work cut out for me. That's not herbs, girls, those are weeds, okay? And you can see weeds just about everywhere. You can see that I've got my tomato cages here in the center spot ready to plant some tomatoes, but we just left them here last year, and you can just see neglect all around here. See my old blackberry bush back over there and some blueberry bushes there that have started to kind of sprout out. And this is where I have started. That's just a big old bale of landscape cloth and a bag of dirt there. But all this right here in this bed is where I've been for the past day or so, just pulling weeds, just getting ready. There's my pile of weeds. There's my bag of weeds over there. It has been a mess. And so you can see I've got my work cut out for me. And I want to tell you now, let me just share what the Lord's been teaching me and why I've been out here and why I'm grateful for this early spring. And I'll go sit for a minute and just teach you and share my heart with you. Last week, Bill and I had the opportunity to get away and go to a worship leaders conference. My husband's a worship leader. And we were in sessions together with a wonderful teacher. His name is Lance Witt. He's written a book called Replenish, and that was sort of his theme, of course, about helping us be replenished as leaders, and I highly recommend the book. But he challenged us with this verse. It's a little verse that, to be very honest, I hadn't even thought much about. I mean, I've read through it, but I've never really slowed down very long. It's in a little kind of hidden book in the New Testament called 3 John, all right? 3 John, verse 2. And listen to what John says. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Did you hear that? Even as your soul is getting along well. And what he brought out of that verse to us was that if our soul is not getting along well, then the other areas of our lives will probably not be getting along well. You know, that soul that God has given us is that part of us that needs to be replenished by spending time with the Lord and by just doing things that fill up our soul and replenish us. He taught that it goes along with what the Sabbath was intended to do. You know, God didn't need to rest on the Sabbath day, on that seventh day in Genesis, did he? He didn't need to rest, but he established one day of the week as a Sabbath when we were to do no work. The people there were commanded not to do any work, and it was also a time where they were to take some time, some space to rest and to be replenished. And the Sabbath really was the first thing in Scripture that God proclaimed as being holy. He established the Sabbath and he said it's a holy thing. Now listen, we don't want to get too legalistic about the Sabbath, about we have to sit still and not work. A lot of us are in ministry and Sundays are busy days, but that does not mean that God doesn't want us to have a Sabbath. He wants us to take seasons. He wants us to take weekly times when we just still ourselves and we're able to rest and to let our soul be refilled, our spiritual tank be refilled. And so he challenged us at that conference with making a list, and he gave us a little cycle kind of a thing, my replenishment cycle. He gave us this little kind of a circle here. What are the things that we need weekly, monthly, yearly to help our soul stay replenished and to get along well in other areas of our lives? And so that's what led me out here to this vegetable garden, because this is what replenishes me. You know, it's not about the produce that I'm going to get one day from this garden. It's not about any of that kind of stuff. It's not really about even having a pretty garden. What it's about for me is about getting my hands in the dirt And when I get my hands in the dirt, something happens. My heart gets real connected to the Lord out here in nature. As the birds sing, as I just begin to be out here in this quiet place, it replenishes my soul. I put some other things on that list. I need about once a month just a day alone. I call it a robe day, where I don't even get dressed for the day, where I just stay in my robe and I go slow. And I spend extended time with the Lord, sort of like a personal retreat. I need at least once a year, I need for my husband and I to get away on a trip together. Just something real low-key. Doesn't even have to be, it doesn't have to be a big deal trip. But I need those kinds of things. They replenish me, and they replenish Bill and I as a couple. So I want to ask you a question. How is your soul doing? Is it well with your soul? That interior part of you. Now, publicly, everything may look just fine on the outside. But how are you doing in your interior life? Is it just a knot? Girls, could it be that you've neglected the Sabbath? You've neglected your soul. Because that's what I've done. You can see it out there, lots of weeds and stuff. But girls, listen, this is what I'm going to commit to do for you. I'm going to commit to get out here and not just weed this garden and get it into good shape, but to regularly replenishing my soul. And I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to show you in the weeks ahead some pictures to prove you. I want to be accountable to you, that I am not just preaching at you, but that I am going to practice a Sabbath in my life, which is going to involve some time out here in the vegetable garden. But I'm going to challenge you with this. Would you post a comment to this video and let me know the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that replenish your soul, that perhaps you've even neglected like I have? Would you do that, and would you commit to taking 1 or 2 of those things and really beginning to plan and make time in your schedule for your soul to be replenished? Girls, God made us the way He made us, and He knows that we need rest. We need replenishment. Our souls need to be filled up. And I don't know how God does that in your life, but He does that a lot in my life out here in the garden. I look forward to hearing from you, sisters. I look forward to reading your comments. I'll be praying for you. You pray for me, and I'll see you right here next week, again on Front Porch Friday. I love you, girls. I'm praying for you. Bye.